And welcome inside a very special edition of the Backstage Pass presented by Hank Jr. Productions and our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey alongside Kirsty Krause. Pleased to welcome in a guy that made Coupe de Villes popular again in his songs, and he's back here again as a good day for living as a top 40 and climbing at radio right now. It's a big, big song out there. The title track, Good Day for Living, off his new album. Nashville recording artist Joe Nichols here on the show. Joe, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. You guys, how are you doing today?
Doing
it's fantastic. A good day for living.
It's a good day for living. I love that. Set it up, knock it out of the park. That's awesome. Thank you.
I love it. Hey, let's start right there, too, because you were talking a little bit before we started here. I mean, Good Day for Living already for you guys, a top 40 and climbing at country radio. Just talk about this full-length project, Joe, and how excited it is to get music out to your fans again.
Well, my last album, I think, was in 2018, 17 or 18, and it's been that long since we've been on the radio. So having almost like a new artist reintroduction to radio and the fans has been, the biggest part of my life, as far as music goes. So I think having success with this song and kind of feeling like, things are back the way they were before the break, I think that's just a wonderful feeling. I'm incredibly grateful for everything that's going on right now. And boy, like I said, I don't think it could be any better. Well, who knows?
Well, it's such a good song and a good album. We have been jamming out to it. I know we have some songs we wanted to get into and ask you about, but right now you're like in the top 3 most ads on country radio for It's a Good Day to Live In, and about to go on tour for that. So we're just really happy to have you on here at the Backstage Pass.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And I'll go back to the the album. This is one of the best albums I think I've done in the past 10 or 12 years. I think this one and Crickets probably are the best since maybe my second or third album. So I think this compilation of music is, to me, special. And songs like Good Day for Living, certainly connecting with radio, is kind of like the icing on the cake, really. So this has been an amazing time, man. I'm so glad to see the fans react to this stuff, because you never know. It's like having a baby. You're like, is it gonna be okay? Is it gonna be, what's gonna happen? So it's good to see it all kind of happen in a positive way.
When you talk about your correlations with the album Crickets, do you think that has anything to do with reuniting with your producers, Mickey Jack Combs and Derek George? Talk to us about working with them again.
Yeah, so good to work with those guys. They complement each other so well, Mickey Jack and Derek. They both have an incredibly musical brain, a very sharp, almost like watching mathematicians work out problems in their head. It's pretty genius stuff. And for me, the trust I have in those guys kind of gives me a confidence. Kind of gives me a confidence to sing and kind of, I guess I hate the word emote, but it's emote, in the songs, and it's kind of, like I said, it kind of puts me at ease. And when you kind of feel the freedom to fail, you kind of get a little more confident, and I think that's where we're at in the studio.
I want to ask you, Joe, about one of the special ones off the album there, Good Day for Living. Such a nostalgic, very beautiful song, and one that I'm sure connects to you very closely. Let's talk about Home Run a little bit, because a lot of people can definitely resonate with that, and that's one of your most popular ones off this album, right?
Yes. I love it, man. It's such a good this moment in time song, with all the stuff that's happened, the craziness that happened in 2020 and since, and to a point, I think even before that, in my life especially, I could look at this and say, I have been gone a lot. I've been losing touch with that guy that, was a little kid that grew up, in Arkansas and, that liked to go fishing, just simple little things. I think I missed that guy. I didn't know that I missed that guy so much. And Home Run is kind of telling everybody, this guy's perspective, telling everybody that I think I need to get back to that. I think I need to get back to a little bit of home in here. And because things are a little crazy. And I think we can all kind of identify with, let's get back to something real, because this has been surreal.
Yeah. Another personal song on the album was Why Can't She?
Oh, yeah. Love that song. That's one of my favorites on there. Yeah.
pulled on the heartstrings from
Yeah.
literally the first line of the song. How has the response been to that one? Is that one that sticks out to people that are messaging you?
I haven't played that live yet. I think I'm going to, but I have seen people react to that. One two step closer, dance with a girl. But why can't she, man? It's always been one of my favorites. I've loved that song for a lot longer than people think. That's not a brand new song. I think it's probably 8 to 10 years old. And another artist actually wrote it and cut it, named Adam Craig, phenomenal singer. And I remember hearing the demo of that song way back when I was on Redbow Records, maybe 2012 or 13. And I was blown away by the song. I'm like, I got to cut this. And I didn't get a chance to then. And then, this album, it's been a bit of difference between his cut now and this album. So I was like, man, let's cut that song. It's finally time. And I love it. I'm so glad you mentioned that song. I love that.
That's so cool to hear a story like that, right, Brandon? I mean, like a song being that you hung on to since 2013. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love that. Love his version of it too. Like I said, Adam Craig, a great singer.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it just needed to have more time in between his release and my release. So finally got a chance to. Some things like that, I think there's a lot of luck, or however you want to define luck. It could be that guy right there. I think it is. But that kind of stuff can happen in its own timing in a perfect way.
You really put the Arkansas roots a little deep into that too, and that's how I grew up, which is off the album.
Yeah.
Good Day for Living. Man, that just hit the nail on the head right there. And you went back to those roots in Arkansas, the childhood, and I mean, it's a song. That's why it's titled. That's how I grew up, right?
That's exactly right. Everybody that I knew, all of my running buddies in high school, we all kind of had the same past. It was, just like the song says, grew up on a back road and back seat with the one that got away, and then we went to church to kind of forgive it all, to pray it all away. I think that's kind of everybody's background that I knew of anyway. When I heard that song, I thought, this guy is me. This is a guy that I wish I had the pen to write something that expressed me this well. It's a wonderfully written song. Great cut.
No doubt. Hey, I want to go back to one of the old ones, man, because I love it too so much. We talk about Real Things. Real Things came out in 2007 for you, did wonders across radio. And I mean, My Whiskey Years, Coming Back in the Cadillac, and Another Side of You, Let's Get Drunk and Fight. These songs originated for me, man, in college and coming out of college and still, like I said, going out to the bars and having a good time and that kind of thing. But I wanted to ask you about just putting together real country again and sticking to those roots. Real Things did a lot of great things for you, no doubt.
Man, that's one of my favorite albums, front to back. There's so many great songs. Real Things itself, written by Billy Dean. To this day, I love Real Things, built to last. I just think that whole song is pretty special. My Whiskey Years, to me, at that moment in my life especially, and several moments since and before, that's just describes me perfectly. Jeffrey Steele wrote that song, and boy, talk about one of those, I need to nail this performance. No matter what I do the rest of this album, I need this to be my moment. And I listen to it to this day, and it still kind of gives me that boy, that's real stuff right there. And there's a real moment for me, because it's painful, and you can tell it's a struggle, and it was a struggle, still sometimes can be, but that kind of defeated attitude in that song, like coming to grips with reality of, man, I'm going to be struggling with this. That's just the reality, and it hurts, and it hurts other people, and so just a deep song, and it one of my favorite things I've ever done.
I want to ask you about one that definitely was off your first album too, for Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off. But one of the ones I thought, man, you just hit the vocals. I mean, it was just beautifully sung, and I'm sure the writing had to be fantastic on it, but it would just really describe country music in a way that I've never heard it before, especially song lyrics. Talk Me Out of Tampa. Man, that was off the first album that you had. And man, that was one of the ones you could put on a playlist and just play over and over again. Who did you write that with and kind of work with on that song collaboration?
I think that was a Clint Daniels song, I believe. I'm not sure who else. I think I just ran into one of the. Oh, you know what? It was John Stone. Is it John Stone or John Wolfe? Anyway, I think it's one of those guys, and that's one of those that I'll hear now and then. Somebody will put a playlist on, and it'll come across, and I'm like, man, that should have been a single. That should have been a hit. If we'd have just probably just gone a little deeper on the album. But thank you for remembering that song, man. That's an album cut I've always liked. Yeah, thought it should have been on radio.
Me too, no doubt. And the other one was it just had a great feel to it. Well, two more I'm gonna reference from that album was As Country as She Gets, and then of course Honky Tonk Girl. I mean, those two more you could have put on the radio, right?
Yeah, I wrote Honky Tonk Girl with Will Nance and I think Steve Dean, and that's one of those that I demoed on the side. And I don't really like pitching songs that I wrote from myself. I don't walk into a pitch meeting. I know a lot of people do, but I don't like walking into pitch meetings with my songs and say, hey, y'all check this out. I would rather it come from another writer and their publishing to pitch it to us. And so I don't want the bias of all the people in the creative process, from the producer to the label. I don't want them to feel pressure that since I wrote it, we have to cut it. I just have never believed that you should be so short-sighted with songs, because I believe that big careers are built on great songs. Conway Twitty didn't write, 90% of the things he did, but there's 60 number one songs or close to it. George Strait, same thing. Great careers are built on great songs, whether you wrote them or not. And if my song has merit, if my song is good enough, then another publisher or another songwriter will find its way into a meeting, and I don't have to say a word about who wrote it, and we can cut it if it's good. And the Honky Tonk Girl is one of those that came through from another publisher, and they're like, "Oh, this sounds good," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me singing the demo," and I wrote that with Will Nance, Steve Dean, and they're like, "Let's cut this." I'm like, "Now we're talking." All right, as long as everybody gets there before I say anything, that's good.
That's a good thing. Hey, I love the $1 million question here. So I'm going to ask you, did you ever think you'd have just that big hit, Tequila Makes Your Clothes Fall Off, when you started working on that one too and getting in the studio? Did you guys kind of feel like you had something special?
It's a funny thing with Tequila Makes Your Clothes Fall Off. I'll tell you this, that song was a journey itself. When I first heard the demo, me and Mike Owens, who was the head of A&R at Universal South there, wonderful song, man. Best song, man, I've ever known. And God bless him. He's passed on now. But a dear, dear friend, and could find songs like Broken Heartsville and just, dig deep in catalogs of old and new catalogs, and knew how to match them with me, like nobody else had ever done that before. But he brought me this song, played it for me in his office one day, and he said, "This is a little weird, but what do you think about this?" And he played me this demo, and it was very slow. It sounded like a very bad, I love the writers. They're very nice guys, but it sounded like a really bad demo. And it was just real slow. It's kind of like almost a crying kind of demo. Like, she said, "I'm going out with my girlfriends." It was just very kind of, but the hook was great. The hook was fantastic. And Mike and I both knew, if we scrap this demo and don't pay any attention to that, and we just get the song and then put it in the hands of the creative people in this process, then we might have something special. Now, we went in and cut it, and it felt flat. And it felt like this is just, it's not very exciting. It's just kind of, it's just sung, and it's just kind of played, and it kind of lays there. It's too good of an idea to let this happen production-wise. So we recut the song and decided, at all turns, let's have just 10% more energy. When I sang in the studio, let's lean on the microphone 10% more. Let's sing a little bit with more teeth and attitude. And it was just kind of like, just add a little 10% more of this, more of that. And all of a sudden you had an edgy song with a great hook and a good track that had a Waylon Jennings kick drum kind of in it. And I knew when we were done with it, this could be big. And when I first heard that state radio stations, like the top 40 stations in New York City on the morning show, and when they were playing the song, I'm like, oh, we got something. When it enters the Hot 100, in the first couple of weeks, I was like, we got a big hit here, fellas. This is going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, speaking of a couple, well, you mentioned Crickets, how special that was of an album too. Let's talk about two off of there. I mean, yeah, just kind of summed it up when you're driving down the interstate going 75 out
Yeah.
here in Texas, where I live too, and especially San Antonio, out to El Paso and Arizona. That's just one you love to crank up. And then, of course, now this time of year, sunny and 75 makes me think of San Diego, California.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I couldn't be more happy with any kind of 1-2 punch of an album than Sunny in 75. And yeah, just had always felt like an easy song. That was gonna be, it felt right. It felt like me. It felt like a big chorus. It felt like that was gonna connect with everybody in the middle of America and even, everywhere in America, really. It just felt like radio is probably gonna respond to this because there's not a lot of figuring out to do, whether it's good or bad. It just kind of felt right. And Sunny in 75 was such a different kind of song for me. Vocally, it was really rangy. Um, and the track was very super energetic, kind of borderline on early 80s rock a little bit. It was kind of different for me. So it might have taken a lot of radio by surprise, a lot of fans by surprise, a little like, is this Joe? And so that was a little scarier time, but man, the payoff of Sunny in 75 was humongous. I mean, people to this day, of all the songs that I've done, they say Sunny in 75, man, that was our wedding theme, or that was, my theme in college or whatever, that's just, and I get tweets and I see weather forecasts, they'll reference the song and they're like, hey, this guy has a song about this, and I see that. I'm like, that's free marketing. What a great thing to have, television stations in Boise, Idaho, and Syracuse, New York, and Miami, and it's just all these guys plugging my song. That's a wonderful kind of, added bonus to that. But I couldn't have asked for anything more than those two songs that they gave me for that album.
All right, I'm going to use a sports analogy for this one too, because down here we're in the MLB playoffs, and the Astros are playing right now the Seattle Mariners for baseball. Yeah. And yesterday with my team, and people got on, they said, Brandon, you shouldn't have written them off at 7-3. And of course, Yordan Alvarez comes up, game-winning 3-run homer, 8-7 was the final score. And I'm relating this to the song "The Impossible." And so now I turned that on the other day because I went, yeah, okay, it's not over till it's over. Yogi Berra always said that too at the same time. So I played it. Look what happened. Walk off, game 2 is today, what have you. Do you still get people coming up to you who may have faced life challenges, things that they go through on a daily basis with kids or work or business or relationships? Do you still get people coming up saying, man, I just have to turn that song on because life is full of the possibles and impossibles, and never underestimate the impossible. There you go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the impossibles message because it's hope. It sums up hope. And when all the things look hopeless, even, and I can say in my life, many times have I felt like the impossible was dead on. And I've heard so many really moving stories from people that have survived, car crashes to addiction to, catastrophes, and rebuilt their lives, reconnected their souls. I've heard a lot of very, very, very inspiring and moving stories, so that song was even more of a blessing than I could ever thought, when I first put that out, and even for a while afterwards, in my life, there are things that become precious to me way after the fact, and I think that song was great for my career. It was wonderful. It was the number one song, and it was a lot, did a lot of things to launch my career, and I'm very happy for that. Mm-hmm. But as I've gotten older, the payoff for that song was much bigger than I could ever imagine because of, like I said, because of the connection with the fans, with relatives, with friends, and even so much as sports events. People say, "Oh, it's 9-1, ninth inning," and then bam, the impossible happened. So I think that those songs don't come around very often that touch that many people that way.
I got to ask you this. We'll let you go. About 2 minutes left. What's the key or keys to long-term success? We talked to so many artists who are getting into this for the first time, and they know Nashville's a 10-year town, and of course things don't happen overnight. Success doesn't happen. For you, you've been at this for over 2 decades now. What's been your keys to success in this industry?
Well, I'm trying to put on my manager hat for a minute, and not look at it from an artist perspective. I think your brand, building your brand, the sooner you do that, the better. So basically what I'm saying is the sooner you can define who you are and be an authentic version of you, the better. And then you can build your brand. If you're aimlessly wandering about who you are, and maybe I'll try this, and maybe I'm this guy, and maybe I'm that guy, your brand is going to suffer, or at least the building of your brand. And so that's the number one important thing business wise. Like I said, putting on my manager's hat. Artistically too, I'll tie into that too. You don't want to create success based on somebody you're not, because I can't imagine a more miserable existence than being a person singing a 30-year-old hit that you never liked, or being a character that you never intended to be, but you have to be now because it pays the bills. It's just kind of, you're a slave to a facade. And so I've learned the hard way and the easy way. These are the things you gotta kind of try to avoid. It's taken me 20 years to kind of understand that thinking. But if I could tell anybody out there wanting to be an artist, be yourself as early as you can be. Know who you are. Be sure of it as early as you can, because people will buy you, not a version of you that you don't even believe.
Mm-hmm. Great answer there, no doubt. When it comes to writing, Joe, do you kind of feel like everything just kind of happens with personal experiences? Do you have kind of a hook book? Do you have just your phone? What's kind of your key to putting out just a great country song?
Well, as far as my writing goes, I've written a lot of stuff that nobody will ever hear, just because it felt like something I wanted to write and maybe not ever talk about again. You just felt like this is a song. I wrote one the other day called Judas, and it's about, it's a fairly deep song about being betrayed, and I'm like, gosh, that's a song that I don't think I can cut. And I don't know if I want to give it to anybody else. And I don't know if I want to play it for anybody else. It's one of my best things I've ever wrote, but it'll never go any further than that. Inspiration can be a funny thing. I've written songs that took 20 minutes and had no idea how it went that fast, but it was something incredible to me. And I've had songs that I've pounded on for days and weeks, and I'm like, this is a great idea. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. And it's not. It's not a good idea. So you got to have a little bit of the inspiration, I think, from the guy upstairs, to really have something special.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a little rapid fire here with you. So whatever comes to mind, just let it go out there. So being from Arkansas, everybody knows you probably love the Hogs. No doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Arkansas Razorbacks.
Absolutely.
And college football's in full swing, and almost went to the Arkansas A&M game just a few weeks ago. When it comes to college or professional sports outside of Arkansas, are there other teams you root for?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. I spent about 5 or 6 years of my childhood in St. Louis. Became a fan in the 80s with Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, Tommy Hurd, John Tudor. So St. Louis Cardinals. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, diehard Dallas Cowboys, and I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. So I was in Nashville, Tennessee. I moved to Nashville in '97, and they had just moved there, and they were the Tennessee Oilers, the Houston Oilers. So when they got there wasn't many people in the stands, but I remember they had like $1 beer day or $1 beer night, and I would go see the Oilers play. And I'm like, there's nobody here, but it's $1 beer, so I'm becoming a fan. And I just, and then all of a sudden they go to a Super Bowl, and it was an exciting time, and it kind of felt like they moved there when I moved there, and it kind of felt like my home team. And so yeah, Tennessee Titans and Dallas Cowboys.
All right, two good choices there, no doubt. Last one we'll do here. What's the Joe Nichols favorite food if he's got one of those cravings? And also to tie into that, we'll do beverages too at the same time.
My favorite food is really tough because there's some things I just can't pass up, man. I just, for the life of me, I could have a doctor say, if you ever touch this again, you will die. And I just have to do it. And that is brisket, Texas brisket. And there's a lot of places that do it well, but Texas brisket, when it's done well, is hard to beat for me. And the New York style pizza from New York City, actually going down to Lombardi's or one of the original pizza places up there, it's incredible food. I could just eat one of those massive pies all by myself, I think, but I think that's my two musts.
Two musts right there. And then beverages, would it be kind of just a good old soda, water? What do you like?
Man, I'm a tea guy.
Okay.
Give me a gallon of unsweetened tea and I can finish it off pretty quick. Yeah, I'll be peeing all day.
No doubt about it. Hey, Good Day for Living's out there across all the digital platforms. Make sure you guys go check it out. Joe, appreciate the time. As always, know you're on a time crunch today with a big media day, too. Best of luck with the album. Good to see you back on the road, my friend. And we'll hope to catch you out at a show one day, man. We sure appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. And I appreciate your time here today, man.
Got it, no doubt. The one, the only Joe Nichols here on the Backstage Pass. Of course, coming up tomorrow. We'll see you guys in a few weeks with Lori Morgan here on the show on the Backstage Pass. And, of course, a whole lot more. You just got to check out the socials to find out. Thanks to Bangtail Whiskey and our friends over at Hank Jr. Productions. We'll see you soon. Take care.